I trained Neville Goddard for 5 years on one single principle. 5 years. Not because the idea itself was difficult, but because the human mind resists accepting what feels too simple to be real. When Neville first came to me in 1931, he already knew too much. He had studied deeply. He had practiced various techniques. He had read many books. And yet, he was still struggling. Because knowing about consciousness and being consciously aware of what you are doing are two entirely different states of being. The principle I shared with him was ancient, older than any scripture, older than any organized religion. It has been quietly passed through mystery schools for thousands of years. The world is a mirror. It reflects nothing except your own consciousness. That is the complete teaching. The world you perceive is consciousness reflected back to you. Nothing outside of you holds power. Everything you experience is your own wonderful human imagination projected into visible form. Most people hear this and expect something more. There is nothing more. But understanding it intellectually and mastering it through lived experience are separated by years of practice. This is what took Neville 5 years to truly grasp. Not because I intended for him to struggle, but because transformation of consciousness cannot be rushed. Let me share with you what I taught him, not so you take 5 years, but so you understand what true mastery actually requires. The mirror code is this: you do not see the world as it is, you see the world as you are. Everything you observe is, in truth, yourself. Every person who appears in your life is reflecting a part of your own consciousness. Every situation that unfolds is your inner assumptions made visible. This is not poetic language. This is the mechanical law by which all creation operates. In the beginning it was said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness." Notice the wording carefully. Not to worship the image, not to seek the image, but to be made in the image. You are that image. You are consciousness itself, and consciousness is the only creative force that exists. When you look at your world and see problems, you are not witnessing problems outside of you. You are seeing your own inner dialogue, your own assumptions, your own self-concept reflected back through the mirror of reality. Can you change what appears in the mirror? Impossible. The mirror only reflects. But change the face that looks into the mirror, and the reflection must change. It has no choice. This is what I taught Neville for 5 years. How to change the face, how to change consciousness itself, how to stop trying to rearrange reflections, and instead transform the one who is being reflected. The ancient Hermetic teaching declares, "As within, so without." This is not mystical poetry. It is the exact mechanism through which your world is formed. Your inner state is the cause. Your outer world is the effect, always and without exception. Most people spend their lives trying to change effects while leaving the cause untouched. They attempt to gain wealth while holding on to a consciousness of lack. They seek love while feeling unworthy. They pursue success while assuming failure. This is like standing in front of a mirror with a frown and demanding that the reflection smile first. The reflection cannot smile until you do. The mirror cannot show wealth until you embody wealth in consciousness. The world cannot give you what you refuse to give yourself internally. Neville once recorded a story about a woman who understood this principle perfectly. She owned a property with tenants who neglected it. The yard was unkempt. Payments were inconsistent. The situation caused her great stress. Every time she thought about the property, she felt anger. She imagined confrontations. She mentally rehearsed legal actions. She saw herself as a victim of irresponsible tenants. Then she applied the mirror code. If these tenants existed in her world, they must be reflecting something within her own consciousness. They were her assumptions pushed outward. So instead of trying to change them, she changed herself. Each night before sleep, she revised the entire situation. In her imagination, She saw the property clean and well-maintained. She felt satisfaction. She imagined responsible tenants who cared for the space. She persisted in this, night after night, refusing to return to her old mental habits. Then something remarkable occurred. The woman tenant had an accident and was hospitalized. During that time, her husband disappeared. Yet instead of creating further problems, she later returned with a new husband and a marriage certificate. This new man immediately began improving the property. Payments became consistent, the yard was maintained. Even an additional room was built, increasing the value of the property. The problem was resolved not through force, control, or manipulation, but through a change in inner consciousness. The outer world had no choice but to conform. This is the mirror code in action. Now, some may ask, what about events I never consciously created? What about difficulties I did not imagine? This leads to a deeper level of understanding, one that takes time to fully accept. Everything in your world is you pushed out, not some things, everything. The love you receive reflects love within you. The rejection you face reflects rejection you hold toward yourself. The opportunities that appear reflect possibilities you have accepted. The closed doors reflect limitations you have assumed. It was taught that the kingdom of God is within you, not coming from outside, not dependent on external conditions, but within you now. Your entire world exists within your consciousness first. What appears outside is only the shadow, the effect of what is already established within. Consciousness is not limited by distance, time, or physical separation. There is no true separation except in appearance. Neville once described a case involving a doctor diagnosed with serious conditions, including possible malignancies and Parkinson's disease. A friend asked for help from thousands of miles away. Most would consider this impossible. How can one influence another from such a distance? But consciousness knows no distance. Neville imagined the doctor as healthy. He mentally touched his face and felt smooth skin. He imagined him walking normally without tremors. That was all. Weeks later, confirmation came. The growths had disappeared. The symptoms had ceased. The doctor returned to normal life. The world reflects consciousness, not physical proximity. When you change your consciousness about someone, when you see them as whole and complete, the mirror must reflect that. This is why there is no one to change but self. You do not change others directly. You change your awareness of them, and they appear changed in your experience. This principle challenges most people because it requires complete responsibility. Not partial responsibility, but total. Everything. The person who mistreats you, the lack you experience, the conditions you face, all are rooted in consciousness. This may sound harsh until you recognize its true meaning. If you created it, you can change it. You are not a victim of the world. You are the creator of the world you experience. When you fully accept this, you stop feeling powerless. You stop waiting for external change. You stop blaming circumstances. You realize the power has always been within you. You were simply using it unconsciously. Now you can use it deliberately. This is what took Neville years to master. Not understanding, but living it. Watching his thoughts, observing his assumptions, catching himself in states of fear, lack, or resentment, and consciously shifting into states of abundance, love, confidence, and fulfillment. And as he shifted his inner states, his outer world began transforming to match. Most people fail at this work because they attempt to change their outer reality while holding on to the same inner state. They affirm abundance while still feeling poor. They visualize success while assuming failure. They imagine love while feeling unworthy inside. The mirror does not respond to your words. The mirror does not respond to your actions. The mirror responds only to your state of consciousness. What are you conscious of being? That is what the mirror must reflect. If you are conscious of being poor, the mirror shows you poverty. If you are conscious of being unloved, the mirror shows you rejection. If you are conscious of being limited, the mirror presents obstacles. But if you are conscious of being wealthy, the mirror must display wealth. If you are conscious of being loved, the mirror must reflect love. If you are conscious of being unlimited, the mirror must reveal possibilities. Now, I want to share something with you that will help you apply this immediately. In the comments below, write the word reset. When you do this, you will receive the Manifest Reset Guide. This guide contains 5 practical shifts based on everything I taught Neville, everything that truly works. The first reset shows you how to stop forcing feelings when everything seems unreal. The second reveals how to shift from seeking to having. And the third, about letting go without giving up, has helped more people break through resistance than anything else. Comment reset right now, and you will receive free access to this guide. Because what I am teaching you is simple to understand, but requires support to master. Now let me show you how this mirror code works in ways that will surprise you. Neville documented in The Law and the Promise a case of a woman who wanted to repaint and redecorate her old home, but she had no money. The work would cost thousands of dollars that she simply did not have. She could have spent years trying to earn the money, working longer hours, sacrificing and struggling. But she understood the mirror code, so she went to work in imagination. She walked through her home as if it were already freshly painted. She admired the new furnishings in her mind. She ran her hands along walls that had already been beautifully redecorated. At the end of each imaginal act, she handed an imaginary contractor a check for full payment. She did this faithfully day after day, night after night, living in the assumption that the work was already completed, occupying the state of someone whose home was already beautiful. Within 2 weeks, she received a registered letter from Lloyd's of London informing her that she had inherited $7,000 from a woman she had never met, never known, never heard of in her entire life. The money appeared from a source she could never have predicted, never have planned, never have worked toward. Because consciousness is not limited to the channels your rational mind can perceive. When you change your inner state, the entire universe reorganizes itself to reflect that state back to you. Money appears from unexpected sources. People enter your life who were not there before. Doors open that did not exist yesterday. This is not magic. This is the mirror code. This is the mechanical operation of consciousness, creating reality. But here is what most people miss, and this is what took Neville the longest to fully accept. You cannot change the mirror by arguing with the reflection. Let me share another story from Neville's lectures. A woman went to a restaurant and saw the most beautiful rose-colored water glasses she had ever seen. She asked if she could buy them. Both the waiter and the hostess told her it was impossible. The buyer for the restaurant was extremely unpleasant and would never sell them. Besides, the glasses were manufactured in the East and the supply was very limited. The woman could have argued, she could have insisted, she could have tried to force the situation, but she understood the mirror code. She went home and every single day she saw those 8 rose-colored glasses on her own table, not hoping to see them, not wishing for them, but seeing them as already hers. 1 month later, she and her mother returned to the same restaurant. There was a new hostess who greeted them warmly and brought up the subject of the glasses. She mentioned she had heard the buyer would not sell them, then excused herself. When she returned, she carried a box. Inside were not 8 glasses but 16, double what the woman had imagined, and they were given to her freely as a gift. Do you see what happened here? The woman did not change the unpleasant buyer. She did not convince the restaurant to change its policy. She did not manipulate circumstances. She changed her own consciousness. She assumed the glasses were already hers, and reality, which is nothing but consciousness pushed outward, had no choice but to conform to her assumption. The unpleasant buyer disappeared from the story. A kind hostess appeared instead. The limited supply became abundant. The impossible became effortless. This is the mirror code in full expression. When you stop fighting the reflection and change the consciousness looking into the mirror, reality rearranges itself in ways your rational mind cannot predict. The bridge of incidents appears. The seeming obstacles fade away. The people who blocked you are replaced by people who assist you. The circumstances that once felt impossible suddenly become effortless. This is not because you forced anything. It is because consciousness is the only reality. And when you change consciousness, reality must conform. Now, there are two ways people waste their entire lives. The first is trying to change others, trying to fix them, improve them, or make them see differently. This is exhausting and ultimately useless because you cannot change the reflection. You can only change yourself. When you understand that everyone in your world is you pushed out, you realize there is no point in trying to change them. They are only showing you what already exists within your consciousness. Change your consciousness of them, and they must change in your world. The second way is waiting for circumstances to change before you change your state. Waiting to feel wealthy until money appears. Waiting to feel loved until someone loves you. Waiting to feel successful until success arrives. But this is backwards. You must feel wealthy first, then wealth appears. You must feel loved first, then love comes. You must occupy the state of success first, then circumstances reorganize to match that state. As within, so without. Not as without, so within. This is why it was said, "Whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Have received, past tense, already done. Not believe you will receive. Not hope to receive. Believe you have already received it. Assume the feeling of already having it. Live in the state of the wish fulfilled. This is the mirror code applied to prayer. The rational mind keeps saying, "But I do not have it yet. How can I believe I have received it when the evidence contradicts me?" The answer is simple. The evidence is the shadow. Your consciousness is the substance. Change the substance, and the shadow must follow. But to change consciousness requires something most people avoid. It requires taking full responsibility for everything you experience. Not partial responsibility. Not responsibility for only what you think you caused. Full responsibility for everything. When someone treats you poorly, you created it through your assumptions about yourself or about them. When money is lacking, you created it through poverty consciousness. When health declines, you created it through inner conversations about weakness and limitation. This may sound harsh until you understand what it truly means. If you created it all, then you can change it all. The moment you accept full responsibility, you reclaim full power. You are no longer a victim of circumstances. You are no longer at the mercy of others. You are no longer hoping and waiting for things to change. You are the operant power. You are consciousness itself. And consciousness is the only reality. This is what I taught Neville. This is what took him 5 years to master. Not intellectual understanding, but lived experience. The moment-to-moment practice of watching his inner conversations, observing his assumptions, catching himself in states of lack, fear, or resentment, and consciously choosing to occupy different states, states of abundance, states of love, states of confidence and fulfillment. And as he shifted his inner states, his outer world transformed to match. Your inner conversations are creating your world right now. What are you telling yourself about money, about love, about success, about your body, about your life? Those conversations are hardening into facts. Those assumptions are being pushed out into visibility. That inner state is being reflected back to you in the mirror of your world. Change the inner conversation, and you change the outer reflection. Assume a new state, and the mirror must reflect that state. This is not just an idea, this is law. This is how consciousness functions. This is how your entire world is shaped and formed. Before we come to a close, I want you to do something right now that will anchor this teaching deeply into your awareness. In the comments below, write the word reset, because the Manifest Reset Guide is designed specifically to help you apply the mirror code when your old patterns try to return. When doubt begins to appear, when circumstances seem to contradict your assumption, when the reflection in the mirror still shows what you no longer choose to be, these 5 resets become your way back to center. They are your practical tools for maintaining the state of the wish fulfilled, even when the outer world has not yet caught up. Comment reset below and receive free access. Now, let me share with you the final secret that completes the mirror code. When you truly master this principle, when you genuinely understand that the world is nothing but your own consciousness reflected back to you, something unexpected happens. You do not become more controlling. You become more calm. You do not become more manipulative. You become more trusting. You do not become obsessed with changing external conditions. You become at peace with simply being. Because when you know that consciousness is the only reality, when you realize that your inner state creates your outer world, you stop fighting. You stop struggling. You stop trying to force outcomes. You simply become conscious of being what you desire to be. You assume the state you want. You rest in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And then you watch as the mirror reflects your new face back to you. This is mastery. This is what took Neville 5 years to achieve. Not control over the world, but peace within consciousness itself. The mirror code is not about controlling reality. It is about realizing that you are reality. Everything you see is you. Everyone you meet is you. Every circumstance is you pushed out. Change yourself, and everything changes with you. There is one more teaching I must share with you, something deeper about consciousness, something I spent 40 years understanding before I passed it on to Neville. That teaching is waiting for you in the video appearing on your screen right now. It is called I Taught Neville. It took me 40 years to learn this. Do not waste yours. In that teaching, I reveal the 7 shifts that can save you decades of struggle, the mistakes that consume years, and the insights discovered through 40 years of practice. Click on that video now and continue your training, because by staying this far, you have already shown that you are ready for a deeper level of truth. The mirror code is just the beginning.